Hey, what's good, YouTube? Welcome back to the Brown Jet. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about the fourth bull run narrative that we have, which is gaming. Why should you look at it? Well, I'm going to get into that in this video. So, before we get into it, just remember nothing I say here is financial advice. Please do your own research. I'm just a guy on YouTube. And while you're at it, hit the like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel, follow me on Twitter if you haven't already. You can always check out what I'm doing on my EVM wallet on the bank. And if you want extra coaching, guidance, and support above and beyond this video, my services are linked in the description below, as will everything that I show in this video. Now, when we take a look at this chart, which is Bitcoin dominance, we will eventually start trending downwards. And as the Bitcoin dominance drops, what will happen is the power shifts from Bitcoin to the altcoins, and then the altcoins will run in what is called the altcoin season. This is where incredible amounts of gains are to be made. If you were happy with making a 5 or 6x on your Bitcoin, just wait to see exactly what's going to happen when we get to altcoin season. But it's always so hard to decide what to buy. There's just so many tokens out there. And I know some of you go, well, maybe I'll pick $10 of this and $10 of that. But the reality is diversification, as said by the genius Warren Buffett, it's the protection against ignorance. And if you know what you're doing, you shouldn't have to do this. Because basically what you end up doing is when you over diversify, when you start buying a ton of different things, it means you have no idea what's good. But if you know what you're doing, you should be investing particularly right there. So that's exactly why I put together this playlist on the 2024-2025 bull run narratives. What that will let you do, I implore you to watch all of the videos. It will help you have an understanding of what different sectors to look into, and then how to decide what you will pick. And then following this video, which is the last of the 4, I will then make a video on how to take all this information and put together your portfolio for the bull run. So when we take a look at top gaming coins by market capitalization on CoinMarketCap, once again, you just see so many tokens out there. Not really sure what Floki is doing here, but one very clear miss, in my opinion, is what I believe to be the home of gaming, the true home of gaming, and that is Avalanche. Avalanche is the biggest token that should be on this list. It sits currently at a market capitalization of $16 billion, a little less than double as its fair distributed or fully distributed value. But Avalanche, if you take a look at today's price of $40, last cycle it went as high as 146, and when we're in peak euphoria, we should be doing even much better than that. What I look at is basically it's sort of the best gaming community. It's got some incredible technology. It has the ability to spin off some subnets, and that allows other games to go on and use their tech. And basically, they've got such a fantastic community. I definitely recommend that you look into this. Avalanche is a significant part of my portfolio, and you can see here we can sort of go and view all of the games that exist. You know, there's tons of them. You probably heard of Shrapnel. It had a lot of attention off the grid. Many, many more. Some of them are tokenized already, so you could even go down here and check what you'd like to get. But basically, it creates a very great user experience, minimal gas fees or zero gas fees, allowing those games to create their own blockchains or these subnets with their own specialized token. So incredible. It runs on the Ethereum virtual machine, and I sort of talked about the gas token flexibility. So they've got over 100 live games on Avalanche, no intention of slowing down, and billions of transactions, so you know that this network can really handle the entire load. And it's for that reason that Avalanche is probably one of my biggest gaming investments. But Then when we take a look at everything else, because Avalanche was around 16 billion, now we look at sort of more of these sort of mid-cap tokens, which are around, $1 to $2 billion. Remember, the higher the market cap, the less return that you can make. But at the same time, the higher market caps are proven. They're much safer. It's why you would invest in Nvidia at over a couple $1 trillion versus a random AI startup. Nvidia is not going to make you a 5 or a 10x, but a random startup can make you a 100x. So it's about massaging your portfolio to have different weightings to account for the level of risk. Avalanche, in my opinion, is very low risk. Obviously, not financial advice because we cannot predict what happens in this crazy world of crypto. But then when we look at mid caps, you have medium risk. And then when we look at low caps, you have super high risk. It can go from, 0 to hero, or it can go from 0 to actual 0. So my first pick on this, I'm only going to give you 2, and I recommend you go through this and do your own research, because once again, it's not about sort of just buying everything. It's about being very well picking your winners. I start with Beam. Now, Beam has their own structure. It's their own network. I implore you to take a look at their ecosystem, their documentation. It's basically a community-driven blockchain and ecosystem. This is where gamers and developers come together. Currently, it's an Avalanche subnet, but it will be a sort of independent blockchain. I believe the plan for that is in January, and they will have sort of the Beam token and uses that specific consensus model. Once again, I'm not going to go through all the information here, but also Beam has just launched an artificial intelligence program, basically to develop applications to reshape how games are built and experienced. That's really cool because we know how exciting and how much traction AI gets these days. As I sort of mentioned, there is the Beam token. It's currently sitting about 34% from all-time highs. There is another way to invest in Beam, which I think many of you may have watched other videos of mine to get, which is called the Node token. Now, unfortunately, the price of the Node token, when you're watching this video, it will have tripled to $3,750. For a week, it was 1/3 of the price. And really the value proposition behind the nodes there's really 2 things. Number one, although it was an unlimited supply of nodes available, when this is finally airdropped to your wallet, because it sort of stays on the website until the launch in January, well, you empower the network and you will earn Beam token, ATH, right? So Avier, Zent, Saga token even, and many much more. So what's going to happen is you basically are having this node that's going to generate you a ton of rewards. You can use it to stake with a validator or start your own validator in combination with some tokens. What I thought was really cool was every time a node was minted, they burned an almost equivalent amount of Beam tokens. So it wasn't just like they were diluting people who were holding the tokens already. So it's a fair balance. And basically, this is the Horizon upgrade that I was just talking about. It's expected to be completed by the end of January, or worst case, end of March 2025. When that happens, all the rewards will start flowing to all those who empowered the Beam network. So I thought it was a great deal. I don't know if it's still a fantastic deal. I don't want to say that because once again, I got in on the ground floor at $1,250 per node. This could still go up significantly. I guess you'd have to take a look at also the price of the Beam token. And if the Beam token price continues to go up, maybe it's just better to get a node. And then the other thing is, if you do want to get a node because of sort of the potential in the future and sort of why I wanted it, well, I have a 5% discount code in the description below for you to check out. My plan as well is, hopefully, once this sale is done and they've done selling nodes, we're able to resell them on the secondary market as well. But obviously, we have to wait for this stuff to get dropped. The second token, the second sort of project, is Superverse. Because once again, I want to invest in the infrastructure and not just the games. For me, if you invest in the infrastructure, you earn every time a game does well, and then you can invest in specific games you like. Whereas, so like if you could invest in Nintendo or PlayStation, I'd rather invest in that than invest in random non-Mario or non-Sonic the Hedgehog game that came out that I didn't know about. This way, it's sort of more of you get the royalties and you sort of prosper when the ecosystem does well. So Superverse is a token as well that is a little less than 1 billion market cap, has an FDV of 1.6 billion. It's down 66% from the all-time high last cycle. So it hasn't really done that phenomenal this cycle yet, topping out at $1.40. But once again, we are about to hit the bull run or the sort of effective altcoin season. So I expect this to see a lot of multiples. Once again, that's why I'm heavily focused. If you look at Superverse, you go to their website, you can see they're a huge Web3 community. Once again, very similar to Avalanche, sort of has that connection of players, community, and they want to unify the top projects. And once again, they've got tons of games on here, on the chain, all the best games, one token, and you could even get in and stake the token to earn some rewards. My recommendation, I know you see that I'm staking my super token here. What I will say to this is you don't necessarily have to stake because the rewards are very small. You see, on this wallet, I have 6,000 super token. I'm getting 12 cents a day. Like, honestly, it's not worth the gas. However, I suspect there may be some sort of airdrop for stakers in the future because this is not incentivizing by any means. So that is a very good potential. And obviously, you can unstake within a day. So, or I believe the unstaking period is 1 day. You'll have to just verify because I haven't unstaked it yet. So it's definitely something to consider. The other thing is, if you wanted to stake an NFT, they do have the Super Farm Genesis series collection on OpenSea, and they're sort of costing about 0.0249 ETH, about $100 for these NFTs, which you can then go back and sort of select and stake. I haven't done that because I don't see the value in it. I'd rather just hold more super token. But yeah, that's sort of my thesis here. But once again, those are mid-cap tokens. You can go down the list, right? So like if we just went through this, many of you may have heard of Immutable X or Sandbox or Gala Games or Axie Infinity, which was the play to earn like top of the chart game last cycle, right? You're looking here at Ronin, right? Who sort of makes it's the chain for pixels. There's so many things with potential out here. We got Yield Guild Games, we got Pixels, which I've done videos out in the past. We got Big Time, you got Zentree, you got Saga. You have so many. And as we go down here, you're going to start seeing the market caps are obviously getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And what that tells you is there's just massive more exponentials, but also massive more risk. So you have to decide, are you willing to take that? So if you look at Heroes of Mavia, which if you were watching the channel, you probably got a nice airdrop in the spring. Well, it's 45 million market cap. If that gets to, a billion, that's a 20x from here. So it just sort of gives you that perspective. And hitting billion-dollar market caps is not hard. Like in the bull cycle, we will see some of these sort of smaller caps end up there. Obviously, not every one of them can do it. So that's why it's so important to go into this, understand the ones you're interested in, and also don't make it a massive part of your portfolio. Because here's what I will tell you. Here's sort of my own perspective. If I put $10,000 into something small, like let's say I put $10,000 into Heroes of Mavia and it went up 3x, I would be like so happy I would sell out. Technically, yes, I could wait for it to go to a billion, but I would not feel as comfortable having the money in a smaller cap token as I would in a bigger token like Beam or Super or Sandbox or Immutable X, right? Obviously, that thought will change depending on your level of conviction. So if you thought it's the best thing possible, then yeah, maybe you could put $1 million into these small caps and just hold on to it. But that's sort of what I want you to sort of take a look at. You weigh the pros and cons, consider how much you're willing to put and how you want to split this so that you have potentially more of your investment in the more secure, more stable assets, the ones with a higher market cap, infrastructure plays, for example, versus just looking at specific games, right? Because then if one game flops, well, that basically goes to zero. Whereas if a game flops on Beam, it doesn't go to zero. Maybe it gets punished depending on how popular it was and how much TVL or total value locked it brought in the future. But I wouldn't say it's a big deal. Anyways, I hope that helps. I hope that gives you some perspective. This is the fourth and the final narrative that I have for the bull run. What I will say as well is gaming typically ends up being the last narrative to run. This is what we saw once the bull market was practically over last 2021. Gaming still lasted for about 3 to 6 months before all of it started going down too. Obviously, that doesn't mean that it's going to happen like that this time, but if you don't have the funds to basically invest in all four narratives, just keep that in mind, and maybe that sort of helps you make your decision. And instead you go, okay, well, you invest in meme coins, AI, and layer ones first, and then you rotate that into gaming later on. Obviously, like I said, not financial advice. Don't really know. I can't see the future. I wish I could, but I hope this video helps. Let me know if it did. Post in the comments below. Like, share the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time.